Short was it's 6 pages and it's 11 font, so it's kind of big. I just want you to understand what you've been hearing today, and you heard about from his children. You know, there are some species on this earth that eat their children. Now you know why. As you go through that, okay? I'm going to try and do this without crying. Okay? I've known him more than any of you. Okay? He's my father's brother. And I think what is done is in writing here for you. But a long, long time ago, right after Adam and Eve, God created man, and here we are today. But anyway, I have this written. I have copies of it for you, but few of you don't know about the Fries Rebellion in 1799.
Royalstown, Pennsylvania.
Okay. The other problem we have is for us to do the talking. So I'm going to play the ventriloquist, okay? And don't even ask who the dummy is, okay? But you got to understand where the family came from. Let me just start off with the history end of it real quickly and go through. There's a family tree that you don't want to even go down. And if you've been with Len long enough, like I have, you've heard it different ways. But there was a John Fries and a Mary Fries, and they had 3 kids. There was John, James, and Mary. James was my father. And then there was the Gertrude, Ryan Ward, I believe it was, and they had 2 children, which was Gertrude and Larry. And back in the 1917, 1918, something like that, don't even say it. They lost their spouses. Mary Fries died, and Gertrude's Redmond, Ryan's husband died. They met, and lo and behold, out of that came our Uncle Len. Okay, and so he was a half brother, half sister type of situation that happened, but. What a lot of people don't know is, as I grew older, or before I was even here, I could have had an Uncle Len one way or another. First of all, he was my father's half-brother. Second of all, when he was a teenager, he dated my mother's sister. Okay? You remember that, Dorothy? Yeah. You never told me that.
She was 6 feet tall, I was 3 4 8.
We won't even tell you about when they danced. Okay? But anyway, he did date my Aunt Dot. Make a long story short, my dad and mom had me, and I've known him longer than anybody here. Sorry, kids. I don't remember him as much, which is good. Okay, so I'm going to get into a little bit of reading and then get into a little bit of humor for you. Okay. By the way, if you Google the Fries Fries Rebellion, 1799, you'll find out that we had something to do with getting John Adams out of office. Okay, John Adams was president at that time, and John Fries and his group. Do you remember that? But I gotta say something else. The other thing, when you're just sitting back here, he has, you kids from Fries's right on down, even on the other side with the Ryans in it. You have a heritage that you're not going to forget. I mean, there's a good gene in you as you go through here. And the thing to remember is that this guy is a loving man, okay? As most of you know, he also moved him up to a position of tour director. And I don't think there's anybody here in the room that hasn't come to visit him and have had a tour of the city. Now, my brother-in-law Fred told me, he says, we went down there to Charleston, and I thought he was driving like Mr. Magoo. His car had 80,000 miles on it. He had the original tires and the original everything on it, except he replaced the horn 5 times. Let me regress a little bit. One thing I wanted to point out is after Gertrude and John married, came our child, yours, mine, and ours. hours. And some of us can remember Henry Fonda and Lucille Ball. Oh, well, you're really losing it. Okay. Catherine and Lucille Ball, and yours, mine, and ours, two big families got together, and that's where Uncle Len came from. Right? You remember that? Okay.
I'm an only child and I'm one of 10.
Right. We got past page 1. We got 7 more to go. Okay. Anyway, Uncle Len was in the service. And I'm not Snoopy or the Red Baron. This is my Uncle Len and I sitting here, okay? First day of basic training when he went into service, they gave him a comb. 30 minutes later, they gave him a haircut. An hour later, they gave him a toothbrush. 2 hours later, they pulled 7 teeth. 3 hours later, they gave him a jock strap. And it took him 3 weeks to find out where Uncle Len was hiding. Anyway, another thing that came up I thought was kind of funny is the service was his destiny. We all know, and this is a little tribute to Aunt Arlene. Okay, we love her, and she's up there laughing because she knows I'm telling the truth. When they first married, Arlene said to Len, you know, marriage is a relationship in which one person is always right, and the other is a husband. And then later in life, Len says to Arlene, honey, what do you like most about me, my handsome face or my sexy physique? And she looked at him from head to toe and said, darling, your sense of humor. And one day, you know, they're sitting there, and Arlene says, darling, do you want dinner? And he says, sure, what are my choices? And she says, yes or no. But you've all heard about the moving that he's done, and that's why he has, you know, met a lot of you people, and a lot of you people have met him. If you're in the same town or in the same building, you had no choice. But I know I remember when he moved into Bob White Farms, and from Bob White Farms they moved out to Ohio, from Georgia to South Carolina, a couple of times down here and everything. And people always say to me, what does your uncle do? I said, I think he's in the witness protection program. Because I have no room to talk because I've lived in 9 states also. Okay, so we're down there. The good news is a couple of things. I just say, during the years of growing up, I never got a cap and a goggles and a scarf like Johnny did. The problem is Johnny's a little older than me, and Johnny couldn't find it. He has it somewhere in the house. You remember the cap and the goggles you gave him? Okay. The good news is that there's some good spots here that, you know, Uncle Len and I have the memories of love, fatherly advice after my father passed away, compassion, and support. You're an awesome man. The bad news is people say I'm a splitting image of you. The Bible tells us that God gives us some gifts. And I have to agree with him in this part that you and I have the gift of gab and the gift of aggravation. Do we not?
Yes. Nobody can say it.
Right. But I've gone through the tour director situation. I think everybody here can really relate how you like to give tours. You're awesome at it. Let's move on. I'm just going to get into some of the funny things here. Being 90 years old. I'm going to regret the rest of the second. When I was born, Uncle Len was 20. He's 20 years older than me. 5 years later, I'm 5 years old. He's 25 years old. Now he's only 5 years older than me. 5 times. I'm 10, and he's 30. Now he's only 3 times older than I am. I'm 20, and he's 40. Now he's only 2 times older. Am I going to catch him? For you math whizzes, figure that one out. Will Rogers once said, we could certainly slow the aging process if it had to go through Congress. Okay. You know you're old when, these are some good ones, you obtain first place in your age category in everything you do. But then you realize you're the only one in that category. People say you look great, and then they add, for someone your age. Your wild oats have turned to prunes and all brand. Some people say, do you wear boxers or briefs? And you say, depends. At our age, you realize that some days you're the dog, and some days you're the hydrant. And you also told me, if God wanted me to touch my toes, He would have put them on my knees. The snap, crackle, and pop in the morning is no longer the Rice Krispies. You no longer want that BMW. You really don't care about the W. Some of you can relate, huh? Happy hour means a nap. Your friends at the aisle comment you about your new alligator shoes and you're barefoot. A sexy babe catches your fancy and your pacemaker opens the garage door. And these a few of us can relate to. Getting a little action means that you don't need any fiber today. And this one someone brought up before. Getting lucky means you found your car in a parking lot. And an all-nighter means not getting up to pee. Then you realize you're really scary when you're making the same noises as your coffee maker. We're going to end with this one and jump to the next section, but these are all written if you want to. You remember when your mother used to say, wear clean underwear in case you get in an accident? Now you take underwear in case you have an accident. Some of you are laughing, you'll be there. There are some perks about being 90, though. One, these are some of the easy ones. You eat dinner at 4 p.m. Kidnappers aren't very interested in you. In a hostage situation, you're going to probably be the first to be released. You no longer try holding in your stomach no matter who walks in the room. Your joints are more accurate meteorologists than the weatherman. Your secrets are safe with your friends because they can't remember them either. Your investment in health insurance is finally paying off. People no longer view you as a hypochondriac. You forget names, but that's okay because people forget they even knew you. And this is what I'm going to end with, and I'll get into a little bit of poem what I wrote for you. I said, Uncle Len, you've had heart surgery, you've fought prostate cancer, you take a lot of medicine that makes you dizzy, winded, subject to drowsiness, have bouts of dementia, poor circulation, can't remember whether you're 85 or 90, but thank God you still have your driver's license.